And so we are going to look into um, Learning Outcome 3, LO3. And in LO3, one of the things that we expect that people or learners will understand is relative to what we call data collection, how you analyze those relevant data that you've collected to your topic that you have rehearsed or the topic that you have chosen. The findings that should be recorded in a suitable report format. Learners should carry out some analysis of data in order to make recommendations and draw conclusions. Okay, so the data that you've collected should be able to sort of come up with conclusions of the data that you have done and then or recommendations to your submissions of your and learners should critically evaluate the data that assess its validity and reliability, commenting on same size the restrictions that you have engaged, which I made mention, the limitations or access to data and subjects, lack of availability or suitable data. Okay, lack of suitable data. All right, and so let's quickly look into the slide itself for LO3. Let's look into it. Oh, Itinu, you've just joined. How are you? Hello, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Is that your first time of joining? Could I have your videos on briefly as a formality, and then you can go off, okay?
All right, just give me a moment, please.
No problem. Same for what was this? Is it Majisola? Can I have your video on briefly? That's our rules and engagements for lectures. Ituno, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Your video, you've not turned your video on.
All right, okay.
I said the video on briefly. That's rules of engagement for lectures. Okay?
All right now. So my video is on. Can you see me?
Yes, you have a video on.
Can
Yes.
you see me? Can I go off? I'm at
Ma
work.
is that Majisola as well?
Yes, this is me.
Okay, that's fine. You can go off as well.
All right.
That's
So
fine.
can you see me?
Yes, it's okay with you. Atunu Sola is fine as well. Okay.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Is that your first time of joining any of my lectures? Is that your first time? It's going to be an interaction lecture, so I'll need your uh uh, Ola, is that your first time of joining my lectures?
Yes, please.
Okay. Have you done any of the research methods with any of the lectures?
I'm just joining all the lectures for the first time.
Or is that your very first time?
Yeah,
Oh, interesting. You're welcome.
thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. All right. And but you know what we discussing today, aren't you? So today's lectures, you know what we're trying to talk about research in health and social care. Are you aware?
Oh, yes.
Good, that's fine. And so we've had series of lectures. I've had learning outcome one. I did one the other time, and today we have LO3. How come you didn't join the initial ones? All right.
I've been having
And
challenges with the module, and yes, I just finally joined officially. Yeah.
okay, that's fine. So try to get the recordings of the previous ones, okay? All right. And so why is it important? Why is research important in our daily life? Why is research important? Why do we embark on research? Why do we embark on research? And why is research important? All right. And so be able to complete a research project in health and social care. Okay. All right. All right. Understanding the process involved in completing a research project. Okay. Understanding the process involved in completing a research project, where we have to look into data collection and then problem statements, you know, how to improve the data that we've collected and how to do a comparative analysis as well. Now, I did explain the other time, that was yesterday, that in research, we have three types of data collection. We have what we call the primary data collection, and then we have what we call the secondary data collection. Okay. The primary data collection, or what we call the secondary data collection, where the primary data collection, deals with all the information that we gather from onset. If we want to do or choose a topic, you want to present your topic to your supervisor who has a final say as to how and when and process you have to follow in choosing your topic. And so the primary data are the things that you gather out there to be able to choose a topic. The secondary data is the topic that you choose out of the many research informations that you have gathered. Okay. And so the primary are the general ones, but the secondary information is the one you have gathered to come out with a topic name and a topic, proposal to your supervisor, who then confirms whether or not he thinks you qualify to proceed or you don't qualify, and therefore will guide you how to do what we call a review of your project work. Now, we also mentioned that every project work or every research work has what we call your aims and objectives. Okay, you cannot do a thorough research work without not having aims and objects. Okay, where your aims are the proposal that you seek to achieve. Okay, the aims become a long-term goal, but then your objects is how you are going to achieve them. That becomes your vehicle in achieving them, your mission. And so the aim is always in one sentence: I want to be a degree holder in the next 4 years. How do you achieve? By one, having a diploma. By two, having maths and English. By three, having a pass mark. Are we together? Those are the things that determine whether or not you can meet up with your own self goal or your self aim. All right. Then we have what we call literature review. Having collected your data and having come out with your aims and objects, then you need to do what we call literature review. And what is literature review? Because you have gathered information from different spectrums of data or from different diverse views of information, be it peer reviews, be it journals, be it books, and any other information that you have gathered, be it Wikipedia, AI, and all that. You need to do a thorough review of the information that you have gathered, because the information you have gathered are not your informations. They are information that belongs to someone, but then you want to have a focus. You want to stand on that existing information to come out with your own data and your own focus of your research. And so literature review becomes a key area where you need to review, and hence why you have to put on references. Okay? So you review what information you have gathered, published by someone. Okay, somebody says these are the problem that is confronting Nigeria. Why Nigeria is having lots of Boko Haram and all that. Okay, so you want to talk about something concerning Boko Haram. But then there's information out there where somebody has spoken or written a book about the causes of or the reasons why there's high increase of Boko Haram in Nigeria or the killings and kidnapping of children in Nigeria. And then you want to also build a research on that area, but then come up with your own. And so you are trying to focus on some aspect of the Boko Haram and not what somebody has written. But the information that you need some information from what somebody has written before. And so somebody says these are the causes, but you also want to say that the concern that was raised, the causes are not the main reason. Maybe it is leadership problem. Okay, so others may say they are causes of maybe increase of Boko Haram in, but then you also want to digress and say the issue is not about just the causes of, but then it is a leadership problem. And so you want to focus on one part, and that's what we call literature review. Okay, this is what we call it. So you are reviewing or critiquing somebody's job, and then you are trying to come up with your own literature report. Are we together? Are we together, Ola? Ola, are you there? Ola, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you.
Are we together? Is there any understanding of what I've said?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Of course, I'm following.
Majisola,
Yes, I can.
can you hear me? Are you getting understanding of my explanation?
Yes.
Do you guys have any questions at this stage?
I might not be able to be responding. Like I said, I'm at work. I just said, let me join,
That's
please.
fine. That's fine. Okay, so that's fine. And so this is what we call literature review. But then you also need what we call sample data because you need to do a questionnaire or you need to get information. And I explained yesterday that there are ethical reasons or considerations in your data information gathering. You need to consider where you are. You need to consider people's choice. You need to consider their consent. You have to be very confidential about the information that you are gathering. Okay. But those information that you gather, you should be able to do what we call data analysis, sampling the practice of analyzing a subset of all data in order to uncover meaningful information in a larger data set. Okay. So there should be a sample data. Okay. And in performing those literature review, what we are doing is to develop a search terms. And then you search using terms, and then you identify initial primary sources. And I've explained that to you. Okay. You create a primary sources, you create a thematically, focused table of summarized information. That's what we call methodology. Okay. You summarize those paragraphs, you read the abstracts, you prepare for the first draft by identifying an organizational approach and writing strategically. Write the first draft and then edit and proof. Okay. So those are very important. Those are very, very, very important. So in literature review, what do? We review the literature in research activity all in itself, and the contribution can be made to knowledge on a particular subject through the literature review. Literature reviews undertaken as part of a thesis invariably focus on the topic that relate to the main research questions that have been raised and highlight the influential conceptual or empirical studies that have been conducted in the field. And the last bit is that in literature review, you demonstrate your knowledge about the extent of literature in the field. And so you are standing on somebody's work, but then you are still demonstrating that you know the field that or the focus you want to go. You are trying to demonstrate to your supervisor and the academic board that you are taking a particular focus. A good review, furthermore, gives a novel synthesis of existing work, and that's what I said, which may lead to new ways of looking at a subject or identify gaps in the literature. Do you understand me? So you have seen information out there, but you are trying to identify certain gaps in the review so you can build a focus. Amen. Now, are we together? Now, the literature review process involves identifying gaps in prior studies with a view to locating one's investigation in a broader context. Silverman identified the context of a literature review as one. What do we already know about the topic? What do you have to say critically about what is already known? Has anyone else ever done anything exactly the same as what is proposed? Has anyone else done anything that is related? Where does your work fit in with what has gone before? Why is your research worth doing in the light of what has already been done? So these are questions that you ask, and since Silverman identified those content or review, what do we already know about the topic? What do you have to say? Has anyone else done? Has anyone done anything that is related? Where does your work fit in? And why is your research doing in the light of what you have already done? Okay, what is your research focusing from what you have already read about or you are standing on or you are reviewing? Okay, now, so you have reviewed your research work, you have reviewed somebody's work, and you have come out with a focus. You then have to create a sample data from what your findings are. In other words, you are trying to interpret the data which you have gathered and you have reviewed to stay on the focus. Okay, data sampling is a statistical analysis technique used to select, manipulate, and analyze a representative subset of data points to identify patterns and trends in larger data sets. Okay, the advantages and challenges of data sampling. One, sampling can be particularly useful with data sets that are too large to efficiently analyze in full. For example, a big data analysis applications or surveys. Identifying and analyzing a representative sample is more efficient, cost effective than surveying. And so what it means that if you are trying to rely on survey analysis, it's quite tiresome, it's quite difficult, you know, than when you're trying to do what we call a sampling data without a non-survey approach. Okay. So a big data analysis applications or surveys. Identifying and analyzing a representative sample is more efficient. No, a sample which is more representative is more efficient than a survey kind of. Okay. An important consideration, though, is the size of the required data. I did explain to those who had joined my previous lectures is that in choosing your topic, you try to limit your topic to a more specific way than a broader aspect of the topic. In that, if you want to talk about UK as a whole, you are going to have huge sampling data. Okay. And so you try to choose a topic which is more limited and specific rather than huger kind of topic. So if you say the issue surrounding Nigerians in UK is quite huge, but you can say Nigerians in UK and say a case study of those in Manchester or those in London or those in Southampton or those in Croydon. In other words, you are trying to limit. You don't want your sample data to be huge or broader. And this is what we call a strategic way of doing that rather than a survey. All right. So your sample data is very important. So let me read. It says the size of the required data sample and the possibility of introducing a sample error. In some cases, a small sample can reveal the most important information about data set. In others, using a larger sample can increase the likelihood of accurately representing the data as a whole, even though the increased size of sample may impede ease of manipulation and interpretation. Okay, increase the size of may impede a case of manipulation and interpretation, even though the increased size of the sample may impede. So the huger the sample, the frustrating it can be because you have a lot of information that you have to work on. So there are different types of data. We have what we call the simple random sampling. We have what we call the stratified sampling. We have what we call the cluster sampling, the multi-age stage sampling, and the systematic sampling, which a lot of people know about. Okay. The sampling can also be based on the norm probability, an approach in which a data sample is determined and extracted based on the judgment of the analyst. As inclusion is determined by the analyst, it can be more difficult to extrapolate. In other words, to extrapolate is to transport, whether the sample accurately represent a larger population than when probability sampling is used. Okay. And so you could have a sampling where you, the analysts, are looking at a more representative kind of sampling, or looking at probability sampling. Probability where you have to use probability and statistics to do. Okay. Those are the ones you're. So data sampling may either be a probability kind of, or a non-probability kind of sample. Probability where you are looking at a more probability in terms of probability, likelihood that this may happen. And then maybe the ones that is not, but you're doing proper questionnaire kind of sampling, where it is more interactive kind of sampling. Okay. All right. The non-probability data sampling methods include convenience sampling. Data is collected from an easily accessible and available group. So that is non-probability, that you have visited a group and gathered those information from them. Consecutive sampling. Data is collected from every subject that meets the criteria until predetermined sample is met. It is consecutive. It is collected from every subject that it meets. Then purposive judgment sampling. The researcher selects the data to sample based or to predefined criteria. Okay, it is judgment. So it is sample based. It is something that you are purposeful. You are doing them based on a criteria you have been given, a measure, a sampling criteria where you are defined to operate on or to collect the data on. Okay. Then the quota sampling, the researcher ensures that equal representation within the sample for all subgroups in the data set or in population. The researcher ensures that equal representation within the sample for all. So, quota sampling, you cannot be more probability statistics oriented. It needs to be more coefficient. It should be equal. It should be equity amongst. You have to do the things, give the same information to different groups and different ages so that you can get a proper quota sampling. All right. What then is data analysis? Data analysis, I've explained this before and I'll explain again, is a process of collecting, modeling, and analyzing data to extract insights that support decision making. There are several methods and techniques to perform analysis, depending on the industry and the aim of the investigation. All these various methods are largely based on two core areas, qualitative and quantitative. How many of you have heard this word before? Quantitative data research and quantitative. Quantitative is what to do with your quantity, okay? And then qualitative has to be quality. So quantitative, when you have a research and you have to do quantitative, it means you have to count figures. That's quantitative. It's about counting the figures that you use to interpret your data or to draw or submit your data, okay? So pie chart, you count them, the number of people that you gathered in your data. But then qualitative deals with quality in terms of the people, that information you gather from them. So others, you spoke to 10 people, quantitative would present them that you spoke to 10 people, but qualitative would look at the details of what they said to you, the information you gathered from the talking to the 10 people. What did they inform you? What were the reasons why they chose this, yes or no? What are the reasons why they remain where they are? Those are what we call quantitative. Okay. All right. And so it gives informed decision. If you're able to do a proper, thorough, quantitative and qualitative analysis, you are able to have an informed decision as to the problem that is happening, or the root cause of problems that happens in your family or in a community or in the locality, and why you seek to bring a research solution or proposal to solve those issues. Okay. Now, there are benefits when you are able to have informed decision. You are able to reduce costs. Another great benefit is to reduce costs. With the help of advanced technology such as predictive analytics, business can spot improvement opportunities, trends, and patterns in their data and plan their strategies accordingly. Okay, all right. Customers are arguably the most crucial element in business. They are. By using analytics to get 360 vision of all aspects related to your customers, you can understand which channels they use to communicate with you, their demographics, interest habits, purchasing behaviors, and more. In the long run, it will drive success to your marketing strategies, allow you to identify new potential customers. Very important research does, and avoid wasting resources, what we call lean operations, on targeting the wrong people or sending the wrong message. Okay, targeting the wrong people and sending the wrong. So research is very key. Research gives you this informed decision. It also allows you to identify your potential markets so you can have what we call competitive advantage. All right. So, what are the 5 stages of data analysis? One, you need to identify. Identify what? Identify what? Data, what we may call primary data. Dirty yourself with the data. All kinds of information, identify them. Okay, and that may be your primary data, but you also have to collect, and that may be your secondary. Okay, in your secondary, when you are collecting, you dress the information that you have got it. Okay, at this stage, suggest that stage where you are starting to collect the data, you define which sources of information you use. So your primary data is all in all data, but in your secondary data, which is the collecting stage, you then define, you then fine tune the data that you have collected, and then you clean. Once you have necessary data, it's time to clean it, leave it ready to analysis. Not all data you collect will be useful. Okay, and then you then analyze with the help of various technology and techniques such as statistical analysis, regressions, neutral text analysis, and more. You can start analyzing and manipulating your data to extract relevant conclusions. At this stage, you find trends, correlations, variations, patterns that can help you to answer the questions you first thought in your identity stage. And then lastly, you interpret. How do you interpret? You interpret by data, by histogram, by Venn diagrams, by scattered plottings, by bar chart. You are able to interpret this so that anybody can understand the picture of project work. They can tell that this was the percentage of people who said yes. This was the percentage of people who said no. And what are the ages of those who said that? From age to 9 to 10 are the ones who said yes. Among the yes, we have people 9 to 10 who said, 4 people said yes, and then ages of 30 to 35 years said no. So you interpret the data for somebody to understand. Okay? And so I've just you say bar charts and pie charts, and all that, and other forms of information that you can use to present your data. Okay? Are we together? Do you have any questions at all? Any questions at all? Any question? Okay. Somebody has sent a message. Okay. All right. That's fine. Yes. I just joined. Okay. That's fine. So, no questions. Then we can proceed. We can proceed. Okay. And so we have to draw conclusion and recommendations. Every good research work should have conclusions and recommendations. Every good research should have conclusions and recommendations. Results are what you have found through the research. They are more than just the raw data that you have collected. They are process findings of the work, what you have been analyzing and striving to understand. In total, the results form the picture that you have uncovered through your research. Some research is simply descriptive. The final report merely represents the results. In most cases, though, you would want to, in most cases, though you would want to interpret them, saying what they mean for you, drawing conclusions. These conclusions might arise from a comparison between your results and the findings of your studies. They will almost certainly be developed with reference to the aim and objectives of the research. Okay. And so your results you have found through the research, they are more than just raw data, because by the research, your final part, you have now moved from just raw data to a proper defined, well-defined research. And then those findings of the work, you should be able to analyze and try to understand in total the result from the picture you have uncovered through your research. So at your final stage, your research should be something that you can compare from your findings and other studies. It must be very unique on its own. Okay? Your research should be very reliable. It should be very efficient, and it should be very valuable. When we say reliable, it should be something that somebody takes. It can relate to it. Okay? It should be very reliable. It should be validable. You have to validate it. That's why you do a lot of comparative analysis. So it needs to be very validated, you see. So evaluate the quality of research. They indicate how well a method, technique, test measure something. Reliability is all about the consistency of a measure, and the validity is about the accuracy of measure. It is important to consider reliability, validity when you are creating your own research design, planning your methods, and writing up results, especially in qualitative research. Okay, it is important to consider reliability and validity when you are creating your own research design. Very, very important. Okay, so your research should be very reliable, and it should be very validable as well. Where reliable people can relate to it. Okay, reliable that the information that you have gathered are reliable, and then they are also validated. It can be validated by anybody. When they check online, they can see, yes, this research is very unique. It is not a copy paste research. It is not AI research or ChatGPT research. It is very reliable. Okay. Reliability refers to the consistency a method measures something. If something result can be consistently achieved by using the same methods at the same circumstances, the measurement is considered reliable. It is consistent, so it is reliable. You measure the temperature of a liquid sample several times under identical conditions. The thermometer displays the same temperature every time, so it is what? Reliable. If it's malfunction, it is not reliable. The thermometer is not reliable. It tells you tells you 37, 37 is not reliable. It is always reliable when something appears the same and consistent. A doctor uses a symptom questionnaire to diagnose a patient with a long-term medical condition. Several different doctors use the same questionnaire with the same patient but give the different diagnosis. This indicates that the questionnaire has low reliability as a measure of the condition. Okay? It should be consistent. Validity then refers to what? How accurately a method measures what is intended to measure. If research has high validity, it means it produces results that correspond to raw properties, characteristics, variations in the physical or social world. Okay, these are things it gives empirical evidences, is validable. The evidences out there, when you check with the real day's life or real time activities, it is valuable. It is something that you can see that it is real. You can feel it. It's tangible. Okay, the data that you put out there, your methodology, your interpretation of your data, the figures out there, when somebody compares and does the calculation, it is validable. Okay, so an example, if a thermometer shows different temperature each time, even though you have carefully controlled conditions to ensure the sample's temperature stays the same, the thermometer is probably malfunctioning and it is not valid. It is not valid. Okay, the validity of a measurement can be estimated based on three main types of evidence. Each type can be evaluated through expert judgment or statistical methods. Okay. All right. Any questions? So we have the construct we have the content, and we have the criteria. These are the three types of validity. Okay. Validity refers to how accurately a method measures. I've explained that already, haven't I? Okay. All right. So let's look at something here. So let's look into reliability. Reliability also can be estimated by comparing different versions of same measurements. While validity is harder to assess, but it can be estimated by comparing the results to other relevant data or theory. Methods of estimating reliability and validity are usually split up into different types. So in validity, you have what we call the test, okay, or the inter-rater, or we have the internal consistency, okay? Those are the ones. So in reliability and validity in thesis, we are looking at one, literature review. What are the other researchers done to devise and improve methods that are reliable and valid? Okay, what have you read? Those that you read, are they reliable and are they valid? The methodology I spoke about. How do you plan your research to ensure reliability and validity of your measures are used? This includes the chosen sample size, sample preparation, external condition, and measuring techniques. Okay, your sample size and sample preparation. The results, therefore, are what? If you calculate reliability and validity, state these values alongside your main results. Okay. Then you discuss. It is the moment you talk about reliable and valid your results actually were they consistent, and how they reflect whether true values or not. And in conclusion, if your reliability and validity were a big problem for your findings, it might be helpful to mention this here. Okay. So this is very important. Okay. Literature review, methodology, results oriented, and then discussion and conclusion. Right? And conclusion. Any questions at all? Any questions at all? All right. And then if you intend to, to have a distinction or a merit in your assignment submission, then you need to look into read more in your model. Why do a literature review in health and social care? You have to read about it. Examine the values of literature review process in influencing positive change in health and social care. Examine the value of your literature review process in influencing positive change in health and social care. Okay, you can read more about it in your model. And we'll bring our lectures to an end. These are the references that you can look into. Okay. If you go to your student model, you can get all these reference in there, and you can dive more and do a lot of checks and a lot of reviews or read more about it, so you can have information and data in your research work to be able to present a proper literature review and a proper data sampling analysis. Okay, and so um, you can have a further reading in what we call the value, importance, and oversight of health research. Okay, the value, the importance, and oversight in health research. Okay, the value, the importance, and oversight in health research. Any concerns that you have, you can email us at the learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. Okay, and then if you have started your lectures, you have 2 weeks from the time that we've ended, or if you have started already, you have 2 weeks from when your lectures have ended to submit your assignment. Okay, so if you have done your LO1, LO2, and today is the LO3, and if probably today is the last lecture, or even next week, then you have 2 weeks for which you have to submit your assignment. And normally we have what we call assignment discussions, where we look into thoroughly about what you are supposed to present, the number of words you have to present, and the font size of your work, okay, and the data line spacing between your work as well, how to bullet points them, how to do introduction, and make sure that every assignment you have the assignment question before you answer them. These are things that we discussed thoroughly within it, okay? All right, so since you have no questions, we'll bring today's lectures to an end. I hope you guys enjoyed the lectures. We'll bring our lectures to an end. Can I hear you guys at all? Mojisola. All right, we'll bring our lectures to an end then. Okay. All right, see you next week then. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye. You can leave your feedbacks in the chat in the WhatsApp group if you want. All right then. Thank you.